Hello, my name is Sergio del Amo, and in this video I'm going to show you how to generate a Java HTTP client given an OpenAPI specification. I'm going to go to Micronaut.io. I'm going to click in Micronaut Launch. This is a feature that we introduced in Micronaut Framework 4, which was released today, the day I'm recording this video, which is July 14th, 2023. I'm going to click here. I'm going to change the name of the application. I'm going to say OpenAPI Client Gen. I'm gonna click generate project. This is gonna download a zip file to my computer. I'm gonna drag and drop this project into my IDE. IntelliJ, I'm gonna import my project. By default, you can build Micronaut applications with either Maven or Gradle. I have selected Gradle in this particular example. We have support for generating an HTTP client in both Gradle and Maven. I'm going to show you in this video how to do this with Maven. I'm going to use an OpenAPI specification, which is this one from OpenMeteo, which is an open source project for weather data. I'm going to download these two. Actually, I'm going to create a folder here in this project. So I'm going to open the IntelliJ terminal. I'm gonna open a new terminal here. I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna create a folder, source OpenAPI. I'm gonna do a curl request to essentially download the OpenAPI specification in this particular folder. And if I now go and I go to OpenMeteo, I have the YAML specification here. So how I can generate an HTTP client which can consume this API, this document. I'm gonna go to build.gradle. I'm gonna add a new plugin part of Micronaut 4, which is the OpenAPI Gradle plugin. It has the same version as the other Micronaut plugin, so 4.0.0. I now have to add in the Micronaut configuration block. I'm gonna add configuration for OpenAPI. So this has this extension, the Micronaut plugin, and I have configured the folder for where my file is. I'm going to have configured, it's going to generate some Java classes. One Java class is going to be like the model. Those are going to be like the objects described in the specification and the API. So I have selected two different packages. We could have used the same. And the last thing that I need is just to actually, I'm gonna do here compile Java, and this should generate these classes for me. So if I go to my build folder now, we should see here under source API, we see like a Micronaut HTTP client. This is a declarative HTTP client. It's an interface that Micronaut implements at compilation time, and we have like objects for the API, so the current weather, etc. So these are the objects described in the OpenAPI specification of OpenMeteo. And if you see the client has this configuration that we're gonna have to provide. So I'm gonna open application.properties, and I'm gonna specify here the URL of the Meteo API. So with all this in place, I should be able to write a test and use this API. Please note that the Micronaut Gradle plugin will automatically add these classes as source sets of my application, so I can use them. I'm gonna write a test. I'm gonna write a test that verifies that I can essentially retrieve the weather of my current location. So I'm gonna create a test here. I'm gonna say weather client test. And I can annotate this test with that Micronaut test. I don't even have to start the application context. So the application, I don't need the server layer of my application, so I can say start the application false. The only thing that I need is the application context so that I can load the weather forecast API bin. I'm gonna do here fetch is weather. I can inject a a bin of a particular type as a method parameter. So I'm gonna do weather forecast API. This is one of the classes that got generated for me. So this is one of the classes that got generated for me, the one that we were seeing before. And now I can actually check my forecast. So I could do here API v1. Sorry, let me rename this to API so that it's a bit less verbose. I'm gonna do API and the latitude and longitude. I have the latitude and longitude of my city here, I believe. So I live close to Madrid in a city named Guadalajara, and this method has a lot of methods that I don't care. So it has hourly, daily, current weather. So I'm gonna do one to, let me do here, let me do for all of these null. I think this one was a boolean, so I'm gonna do true to get the current weather, and the last one will be a null as well. Let me see if this works, or I am forgetting any parameter. Let me assign this to a variable. Let me add Micronaut reactor to actually get hold of the value in my test. I'm gonna go to Micronaut to build.gradle. I'm gonna add here Micronaut reactor, which is as easy as doing, I can add it only for the test if we wanted to. Micronaut reactor, it's in some module. And now I could do here a mono from, and do, or just do here blocking, maybe block, because in the test I'm not really interested in reactive types. These, I think they have to be longs, maybe have to be floats. And what we can check the temperature is below 50 degrees. We are in the middle of the summer, so let's see. So I'm gonna do a forecast, or let's call this forecast, so that is a nicer name. I'm gonna do current weather. Get current weather, and we can do assert true. And what condition do we want to check? That the temperature is below 50 degrees. I think by default this will be Celsius. So we are in this week around 40 something. So the test should pass. Let's see. And the test was successful. Just so that you see that this is actually doing the real thing, let me add in logback, let me add the HTTP client with a trace level. And that way we are able to see the request being sent against OpenMeteo. There you go. So you see the get request being sent against OpenMeteo, and the response here as JSON. So as you saw, this is really exciting. This is going to allow you to consume externals API, which are documented with an OpenAPI specification really easy in your Micronaut applications. As you saw, I generated the HTTP client, not just the interface, but also like the POJOs to map the response types. And you can do this in Gradle. It's as easy as applying the OpenAPI Gradle plugin and supplying some configuration pointing where do you have the OpenAPI specification and the packages that you would like to use for the generated code. This is supported in Maven as well. Hopefully you are as excited as I am about this feature, and stay tuned for more Micronaut 4 features